Toluse, what was the distinction, what was the difference at 1 a.m. this morning versus 24 hours ago?
Well, 24 hours ago at 1 a.m., the streets were mostly clear. 1 a.m. this morning, there were some defiant protesters who were walking up to where the police were stationed and challenging the police, taunting the police, and after all of that, the police responded with a pretty strong force, a lot of tear gas. It looked like a war zone. There was smoke in the air, tear gas all over the place, and it was a very, very disastrous picture.
Toluse, it's important that you are there to weigh and judge what I'm seeing out on social media and frankly within the mainstream media, which is the size of the press contingent versus the size of the event. Obviously, these are important events involving the president and the attorney general. Weigh the size of the protest and the violence versus the reporting of it when you're on the street.
Well, there are dozens and dozens of reporters, more than 100 on the scene. But there were also a large number of protesters during the peaceful part of the protest. When the protest became a little bit more violent and the cops came out with a little bit more force, a lot of the peaceful protesters left and the reporters stayed behind. So it remained just a few defiant protesters and a large number of reporters, and that's why you have sort of that large reporter contingent that looks like it's maybe even larger than the protesters that are remaining.
Good perspective there. Toluse, the protesters have been calling for authorities to make an arrest in the shooting death of Michael Brown. Any update on that front?
Right now, there's still no charges being filed. The local prosecutor is looking over all of the details. The federal government is also on ground with about 40 investigators interviewing people, and Attorney General Holder will be here tomorrow. So there is progress, but no charges yet.
Toluse, last night was the first night in 4 that the police decided to lift the curfew. Can you explain why they did that?
Well, they also called in the National Guard, so they felt that they had the strategy to make this a peaceful protest and not force people to go home. The curfew really led to some confrontation after midnight with cops using tear gas to disperse people to enforce the curfew. They took that away, but it still ended up with the same result of tear gas and violent confrontations between police and protesters.